This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about chiropractic care as a franchise business. In studio with us today is Dr. Demy Moreno, a chiropractor and franchise owner of MaxLiving Chiropractic in Castle Hills. Dr. Demy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
We had a nice warm-up this morning, so we've been chatting up for a good 30 to 45 minutes waiting on Howie there, and we had a great time.
And I'm good at showing up late.
Yeah, you are. He's like got a PhD in showing up late.
There we go.
All right, I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Kruka's Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for insurance agents and attorneys who need help with their administrative duties. So if you're curious about the most common tasks that virtual assistants are doing for businesses, head over to our website at krukas.com and grab a list of the top 20 tasks that VAs are doing for businesses like yours. The link is in the podcast description.
And my name is Heather Boehme. I am a certified business coach and owner of Onset Professional Development, where we focus on mapping and optimizing business processes to make your life and business easier.
You know, you say that, but she's amazing at it.
Oh, no, I know that.
Is she doing it for you yet?
Not yet, but I saw a taste of it.
What do you mean you saw a taste?
I can't tell you. It's a secret thing. Project this is Venture X. That's Project X.
Oh, Project X is a super secret sauce. All right, go ahead, Howie. Sorry.
Then I'm Howie Nestel, the owner of Sharkmatic Advertising. We office near Castle Hills, but that's not where I got here from. I came from Stone Oak, and that's why I was late. We help clients achieve their lifelong dreams of becoming billionaires through digital marketing.
This is not a practice session, Howie.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, shit. I thought we were still practicing.
No,
Oh, my God.
I honestly love it.
Yeah. Best intro ever.
That is the best intro ever. Congratulations, Howie. Great job on that. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yes. To find out what we really do for a living, go to sharkmatic.com. We do web design, search engine optimization, and influence marketing.
Love it. All right, a quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media, where you can catch video versions of all the fun that we're having on the show. You can get to everything easily by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. All right, so Dr. Demy,
Yes.
as always, first-time guest, I'd like to know a little bit about your background and what took you into chiropractic care, and obviously the business side of it, which is what I'm most excited about. I'm a huge fan of chiropractic care, by the way,
Yes.
but I'm also a fan of business, so I'm looking forward to this conversation. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Yes. So part of the reason why I became a chiropractor was because of my grandmother. And my grandmother, she was having a lot of low back pain, and she was taking a lot of over-the-counter medicines. Advil, Tylenol, ibuprofen, you name it, she got it. And up until one moment, she got to the doctor's office. They gave her prescription medications, a lot of muscle relaxers to help her with her back pain, and she took those for years. And up until one moment, she started to get the corticosteroid injections, which those are injections that they put directly into the nerve and numbs the pain reaching to the brain, telling you that there's a problem in the lower back. And that she took those again for years. Her body was just building tolerance to these medications. And shortly thereafter, she had a lower back surgery. And then she got out of her own home, had to be placed in a nursery home. She got stuck in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. And in the moment, I was trying to become a medical doctor. I was studying my bachelor's degree in biology. I knew I wanted to help people. I wanted to become a doctor. I just didn't know which type. And at that moment in time, I started to see what was the missing gap on my grandmother's journey and what could have helped her to get to the underlying root cause of her lower back problems. And I mean, right now, 300,000 of people undergo this lower back surgery, and 30% of them is completely failed. So I started to learn about what did actually something that could actually would help her. And I started to learn about chiropractic and its philosophy. And I know that if somebody would have told her something about chiropractic, even before she started to have the lower back pain, I know that she wouldn't be stuck in a nursery home in a wheelchair. And after that, I just fell in love with the chiropractic philosophy of, exuding health from the inside out and healing and going through the healing processes. And there I just started to go to the chiropractor, and I learned about it, went to the university and studied, and here I am.
So the business of chiropractic, because they don't teach you about business when you're in chiropractic school, right? You got to kind of go after the fact. You're choosing the franchise model. So tell me about that journey. So you're going
Yes.
from, I'm a chiropractor. How long before you start your own practice, and why did you choose the franchise model?
Yes. So in chiropractic school, specifically in Sherman, they had a couple of business classes. There were not a lot, but there were something. Definitely not enough for you to know much about business. But after I was in school, I went to MaxLiving Club for quite a while, and then I went into the program via interviews, and the interview process was a little bit difficult into getting to the program. And it was a lot of them trying to understand if you have the capacity to bring patients into a chiropractic office. So as a student in chiropractic school, I did a lot of events trying to get patients into these chiropractic offices for MaxLiving in South Carolina. And then going and being active in their events, seminars, in the club at school, like all of that just helped me to get into that frame. And part of the reason I became a franchise owner is because they were trying to help you to become the best version of a doctor that you can be. That way, the first day that you open up your doors, you have the parking lot full. And that just completely changed the idea of me just opening up solo and just going through so many errors that I did not want to go through. I did not want to reinvent the wheel. I just wanted to learn from an already established process that MaxLiving seemed to have really good. And I went for it.
Was it fair to say that you understood that you didn't know enough about business to do it on your own, so you wanted help?
Exactly, 100%.
Well, and I find that with franchises, a lot of the times people will go in expecting one thing, especially when it comes to actually running the business, and then experience something completely opposite, or they weren't quite expecting this part of owning a franchise. Have you experienced that in any way?
I can say that the franchise, because I can only talk about them, but for sure, the process that they had was very good, that it eliminated a lot of small errors or big errors opening up the business.
Did they manage your expectations, you think? Did they answer questions that you may have had before you ever became a franchisee? Because I think what you're talking about, Heather, sometimes happens when your expectations aren't met because people tell themselves a story that they're going to buy a franchise, they're going to do all the marketing, and they're going to get your parking lot full, and I don't have to do anything. But it sounds like with Dr. Demy, they actually had her practice and work with one of the clinics in North Carolina to help do some of the things she would do if she was a franchisee so that she knows what to expect, hence managing expectations.
Yes. So going through the program, I had trainings 3 days a week. I was working 5 days out of the week in a chiropractic office there. And
So that's 8 days so far.
And then, yeah. And then marketing, I would do that on the weekends and on the weekdays. So, and I was getting paid as an intern.
Oh, goodness.
So you're getting modestly paid, and you're literally just passing through. Like, it was really difficult because it was a lot of a time commitment for us. Just keeping us trained on our communication skills, on marketing skills, on sales, on processes, on everything. And it was through a whole year.
So I just want to be clear on this. So MaxLiving is providing this training for you. You're basically going through a pre-franchise program.
Yes.
And they're vetting you out.
Yes.
But you still pay for the franchise, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So wait, they're paying you to be an intern, but then you're buying a franchise from them?
Yes. So in the moment, while you are in this training facility, in this office, during that year, they are building your office wherever you choose to.
Oh, so have you paid them? Did you pay them and then they're putting you through this vetting process? Okay, so I think that's really neat. I haven't heard of that before.
No,
where
I
you've
I
got-
like that
Yeah.
version, though. It's like you basically paid your dues of the first year or two that most entrepreneurs experience anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
and
before you
Howie
even
will
own
tell
it.
you it's all about marketing.
Yeah.
It's like you, and the fact that you said that, they're teaching you how to market, bring clients into the office. That's huge.
And
Yeah.
part of the reason that they do that is because they're putting the money up front. You
Yeah,
know,
they're
they're
building out the
betting on you
office.
that you're going to be the doctor. You know, they're putting MaxLiving's not a bank.
Yeah.
So you could imagine. That's why the interview process was very, very difficult to get through. But at the end of the day, it was very difficult to go through the training. But I mean, it got me to where
Now,
I'm at.
I know in places in Latin America and in Mexico, I have a couple cousins who are doctors in Mexico. They had to go through, is it like not Social Security, but like the civil service. You have to spend a year after medical school giving back and working in a government clinic or hospital. So this seems like a similar model in the sense, but you're actually investing in your own future and they're paying you. Because a lot of people come out of, and I've heard this a lot in dental school. Like we've had clients that at my ad agency that start a dental practice and they have no idea how to market. They're not good marketers. They're not good communicators. They hate networking. They don't feel like they should be the one having to do that.
Because they're
And
doctors.
yet
Yeah.
their business suffers because of it.
Well, to go even more morbid here, the 2 doctor's degrees with the highest suicide rates are veterinarian and dentist. And that's a lot of the reason, because you graduate as a veterinarian or a dentist because you want to be a doctor. And a medical doctor, most of the time there's a hospital system to go into. So you have the ability to just go be a doctor, but veterinarian and chiropractor and dentist don't really. To make good money, you almost always have to open a practice, or you have to like own a practice, except they don't teach them how to be business owners. That's one of the reasons I didn't become a veterinarian, is because I did not want to own a business. LOL. But it's a huge issue because they're spitting out a bunch of medical doctors who have to go figure out how to run a business. And that is marketing, sales, stress, responsibility on top of everything else.
So how's it going now? So how long have you had your clinic, and how's it going?
So right now we opened up in July 1st. We have been open 4 to 5 months right now. And right now I have grown the office to right now I'm close to 100 visits per the week. So
Wow.
and it was because I had a lot of marketing done previous to actually opening the office.
What's the capacity with your current staff? What would be the capacity?
300.
So you're at a third capacity
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why San Antonio? What made you pick this city?
Good question. So I was in South Carolina, and my husband and I needed to choose a place where we actually wanted to open up the office. And right now, I'm from Puerto Rico. I definitely would have done it in Puerto Rico, but right now the government and the economy is now the place that I actually wanted to build my office and grow a family there. And I had family in San Antonio. San Antonio is rich in Hispanic community. No state tax. It's a city that is growing. It's definitely growing much more than I anticipated to.
We had 23,000 people moved to San Antonio last year.
It's
Look
the
at that.
7th largest city in the U.S.
Is that net growth? Because that doesn't sound like a whole lot, if I'm being honest.
No, you
That's
talk
a
about
lot.
23,000 new people moved to San Antonio from other states, and they uprooted. That's a lot. That's the most number of people moving to any city than any last year than any other place in the country.
Really, we were number one in the whole nation.
Yeah.
Is that
we've
what about
actually
the
got
net
a
growth
room.
though? Do you know that?
I mean, it's
I don't know
probably
how many
lower.
people left or died, if that's what you mean.
Well, we have
you
so
know.
many
But then we
military
have people
members.
being
Net
bored.
growth.
You know,
Yeah.
we're talking about doctors committing suicide. Now you're talking about net growth. People.
Everybody
We
dies.
should start a funeral home that specializes in doctors.
Circle of life.
Anyway, I don't know, but I know the city's growing and has been growing, and because it's a Hispanic community, we tend to make more babies here. And but in addition to
What does that even
we're having
mean,
people from
dude?
California moving here and other states, you know, from the great Northwest, and they come with money. They sell their houses there. They have no contacts. They don't have a chiropractor. They don't have a business coach. They don't have a virtual staffing company. And so they're looking. They're online. They're looking for where to go. We're making new connections. I have 3 on my block that moved in the last 2 years to San Antonio, and I'm connecting them to different clients of mine.
Yeah.
Wasn't San Antonio the number one fastest growing city for a lot of years? Like it was
we
like that.
were up there, but then we're talking about weight.
And diabetes.
Diabetes.
Fastest
Diabetes is strong.
Well, you know
here.
what? To give San Antonio some credit, though, they're doing pretty good with the roads, like the freeway system, the highway system,
Yes.
stuff like that around here.
Yeah.
Austin, on the other hand, I heard is just like awful. when it
Plus,
comes-
the airport's expanding here.
Yes,
Like
it
they
is.
have a whole new terminal planned out in Austin. Bless its heart.
But Austin
Yikes.
has better flights. They have more international direct
Right now they
flights.
do.
Yeah, right now they do. We're not going to talk about the politics of airlines,
No.
but our airport, it's very convenient that it's in the city. But in most cities, it works better, and there's more airlines that'll fly to more places if it's not in the middle of the city.
like Dallas.
Yeah, like Dallas, like Houston, Intercontinental, because you have the bigger planes that can take off at 2 a.m, red eyes and all that stuff. Well, you can't fly over Castle Hills and Chavano Park at 2 o'clock in the morning.
My
'cause people
kids
will be
love it
pissed.
though. They're like planes.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun
Yeah.
until it's not
But
fun.
it's still a great city. It's a great city. We're somewhat resistant to recessions down here, and business continues. I mean, things are pretty well here compared to other states.
So speaking of business and back to the chiropractic business, when it comes to, is there anything lacking in your mind that the franchise maybe missed that you've seen? Because now you're walking it out here in San Antonio, still fairly fresh. Is there anything that you're like, well, this is something that maybe they should pay more attention to, at least for your type of business here in San Antonio?
I guess that's a really good question. I think that right now I think medical billing and coding, I could have used a little bit more of training on that area, because the medical billing coding, the workbenches that doctors need to bill out from, insurance, I guess I would have loved to delve more into it with the franchise to understand more onto what to do with with Medicare, what to do with other insurances. If you're a cash office, how to do all the statement and print it out with the new system that we have. So I think I would have loved to get into, have more training in that, basically.
How about Spanish language SEO, search engine optimization, or marketing in Espanol? You know, if you speak Spanish, you want to probably attract some of those wealthier clients that are coming here from Latin American countries and have houses here, maybe spend half the year here. That I do that for a couple of our clients, and it's amazing how their bigger competitors, some of them are national companies, don't do any Spanish language marketing in San Antonio.
So right now our Facebook ad is in English, and we're going to do one in Spanish, and some of our posts on Instagram might be in Spanish. That way we're just posting that on our Instagram and just attracting more of that clientele.
Well, what about a website that's in Spanish?
The website is in English. That's the franchise does that one for us. There's not a Spanish one.
You need
but
to have one. I think that's to Howie's point, is maybe
Yeah.
that's a conversation with franchises.
Yeah.
And by the way, Howie has experience in that realm dealing with franchises, but it's like, look, create a Spanish web page or whatever. I don't know how.
Franchisors are more interested in their franchisees succeeding because there's been so many franchisees, and we've had many of them here on the show that either leave the franchise or are not super happy with the marketing that their franchisors have done. And I've worked with maybe a dozen or so franchisors to let their franchisees create Spanish language marketing or general market advertising that helps build more traffic. So they still pay the marketing fee to the franchisor, but the franchisor agrees to let the franchisee do some other creative digital marketing things that help drive more people through the doors.
Yeah.
So I have a question that doesn't have to do with marketing. You started this, you paid up front to open this franchise, or you're paying for it,
Yes.
right? What's the big goal? Why?
The big goal of owning the franchise?
Like, do you want to expand? What's the ultimate plan?
So my ultimate plan is to open up a second location nearby, and then maybe Stone Oak, Broadway, that area, and then step away, have lead doctors running that office, and then have like a manager basically for both of them. That way I can focus on my family and growing it and just enjoying my life as a business owner. And
Are there
working on
other
the back.
franchisees that have done that from in the Max Living system?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Oh, yeah.
Are you in touch with them? You talk to them, get advice?
Yes. So I think it's in the year, we have 3 to 4 seminars and maybe 6 events that we do where all the doctors come together and just talk about business or go to seminar and have big speakers and trainings for all of the doctors just to learn from each other and grow together.
So, what's the biggest lesson you feel like you've learned now that you're out on your own and you're like, yeah, this really got hammered home for me?
I guess if it's hard, do it anyway.
Tell me more about that.
Yes. So, and this was also in the training. They had us do exercises, and that was the whole analysis on that. Is even though the exercise is hard, you just do it anyway. You just show up anyway. Consistency is key. Every time that you have a good week, that's great for you. But whenever, let's say, for example, right now our office is going to jump into the holidays. You can grow an office in the holidays, but it is difficult because then everybody just goes out because of Christmas vacation, and everybody, will tell you, call me in January because January is going to be the time where I'm on this health journey. And it's going to be a little bit difficult for us to go and step into that process. But even though it is difficult, just continue on the path on being consistent. Still go out there and market yourself and go to these vendor events and continue to pour into the community outside that needs it.
See, I love that because I operate with a similar kind of philosophy, but mine's a little less sophisticated. It's if you feel like you want to throw up at the thought of doing it, it's probably the right thing. So just suck it up and do it because that's where all the growth happens.
Yeah.
It's outside of your comfort zone. And a good indicator is when your subconscious is like, no, don't do it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then you're like, ooh, I got to lean into that feeling and amazing things happen.
Yeah, that whole thing of like embrace the suck, and grind it out. It's a good bumper sticker or T-shirt slogan, but most people don't do it.
See, I feel like it's different from embrace the suck because it's like push through the discomfort, but generally it's not a grind, right? It's like standing up and asking the question at a big
But
conference.
if it's hard, and do it anyway, like Dr. Demy says, if they tell you, hey, look, even though it's hard, do it anyway. And that's okay. And you can do that a few times, but do you think most people will actually do that? If you're in a life or death situation, you're going to do it. Yeah. If your business is going to fail, is when people start to really wait. But how do you do that when things are pretty good?
Well, it's consistency, right? It's doing it it is a grind. It is in video games, you call it grinding for a reason. You're doing the same shit over and over and over and over again. And it wears you out. And you're like, what am I doing this for? I've thought about that with the podcast sometimes, what am I even doing here? You know what I mean? But you got to remember the impact. And I've heard Heather, who's been my coach for a long time, is like, well, what's the why? What's the underlying why there? And what's your why? I mean, ties back to your grandmother, right? I mean, obviously you want to serve people. You've got a direction. You know you're going to be a business owner instead of just a job owner. Yeah. We talked about that earlier. So what is the why for you at the end of the day? What really motivates you other than I just need a paycheck? Is there something else? Because there doesn't have to be just yet, but is there something else that really, really pushes you?
Well, yeah, I guess that right now I know for a fact being in chiropractic and learning about the philosophy that it could impact so many people. And my passion is to impact as many people as I can. And the place that I am here right now is in San Antonio. So that's the community that I am basing off of. But I don't want any other person to be suffering, maybe stuck in a system that it's managing their problems and managing their pain, but is never actually getting to the root cause of why is there. And that is where I'm going at. I feel like talking about my grandmother, I don't want anybody else to be suffering and go through that. I want everybody to be living the best life that they can be because they were already originated to live their best life. So I'm just wanting to enhance that amazing innate ability of their body to
Have
heal
you
itself.
already had patients that way that remind you of your grandmother, that they come in and they said, hey, look, I'm on my final straw. I've been taking meds for 6 years. I'm addicted. I don't know what else to do. I'm about to go under the knife. I'm going to just go ahead and do surgery. And have you been able to help them?
Yes.
Wow.
One of them is and she did a testimony. Her name is Juanita. She had sciatica, and she was on her last straw. She was about to retire. She just retired, actually. And she was a nurse, and it was really difficult for her to do her everyday job. And sciatica is very common. That's what a lot of people end up a lot of times coming to the chiropractor for, even though we're not only for low back and neck pain. But Juanita got there, and in a month, she had a seminar for her own business, and she had to walk more than 8 miles, and she did that without any pain. So she was like very excited.
Yeah, and I've heard of people that have sciatic pain, and then they get addicted to hydrocodone and that kind of stuff, and they take more and more because they're trying to numb the pain, right? And then
that's the
next thing you know-
tolerance
Yeah.
that their body just builds on top of. So instead of the corticosteroid injection or the steroid injection, lasting for a whole year, now it's lasting 8 months, and then it was 6 months, and then 3, and then 2.
And so can you share kind of in a few words what kinds of treatments, what kind of style of treatment you do for
Yeah.
somebody who comes in with something with like sciatica?
Yeah, I do manual adjustments, and I utilize a tool that's called ArthroStim. Arthro meaning joint, stim stimulator. So we stimulate the joints. Helps me to become even more specific with the area that we're adjusting. And what we're achieving to do is spinal correction. And I build a plan that the person undergoes, and we're just aligning the spine back into its normal position and working with the muscles and ligaments surrounding the spine, holding that normal position for the longer period of time.
And you work with your husband. How has that been going?
So it's been really good. I thought going into it that we were going to butt heads much more than we had thought. But
Is he also Latino?
yes.
Oh, well, that explains it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But he's both of us we met in 10th grade, so we've been together since forever.
Oh, wow. So
Awesome.
you are a unit.
Yes, we're a unit, and wherever he goes, I go. Whenever I go, he goes. He's my rock. So part of the reason that I'm in so many networking events and how I went to BNI and how I've gone to mixers from Mark, like it was because he's on Facebook. He's let's go here, let's go there, and we're trying to go everywhere, trying to meet new people, make new relationships, and foster them. That way we can make.
And he's a doctor in your office as well. You guys are both
He's the office manager.
office manager.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So who's providing services? Well, or are you doing it in the time you have free that you do the networking, or is somebody else providing any other kind of service? So, like, I'm assuming the office is open right now.
No,
It's not open now.
it's not open now.
Oh, nice. What time is it?
But then you don't really do walk-ins, right, with a chiropractor. You always schedule, right?
Most of the time, if let's say a person was walking by because they were eating at Sonic right in front of our office, they'd probably be like, hey, like, how can I make an appointment? And if we have time in that moment, they can come in. But if they want to schedule because I'm, tied up with another patient, we can do so. But yeah, I mean, our office schedule is very different. We open normally in 3-hour increments. So in the morning, I opened up at 8 a.m., finished at 10:30, went here. But now we're going to be open from 3 to 6 today, too.
I see.
So-
Wow.
So does MaxLiving, I know they trained you as a franchisee.
Franchisee, yeah.
Do they train doctors that don't want to be franchisees, that just want to operate?
Like associate?
Yeah.
Yes, there's an associate program as well.
Oh, wow. So when
Yeah.
you are ready to hire an associate, you just call up MaxLiving and say, hey, I need somebody who's willing to move to San Antonio.
Yes, absolutely. Like there's a student associate program where whenever they finish, they will know how many MaxLiving offices are open for business to take them in, because they've already would have been a MaxLiving a club member, so they would already know the process, and it's so much better to hire a student that is already a MaxLiving member coming.
Yeah,
into
that's
the
a
office.
massive value add, having a pool of potential applicants to hire
That
from.
that's
when you're
in
ready.
all businesses, not only in chiropractic or in medical, but auto repair and others. That's one of the things that business owners talk a lot about. That one of the bottlenecks is they can't find good qualified people to come and work for
Well,
them.
this is a good model, and,
Yeah.
and
It is.
They're very proactive. MaxLiving is very, very proactive. How big are they? How many franchise locations do they have?
More than 200.
Okay, so that's pretty. And is it like all 50 states, or is it mostly West Coast, South, or
Around 26 states,
20? That's still really, really good. So talk
including
a
Puerto Rico. Okay. Good.
little, I think
Plug
we've,
for the
Coming
homeland.
soon.
Yes.
we've learned a little bit, about their kind of their steps that you kind of go through there. But I want to talk more about the culture of MaxLiving, and I'm guessing there is a culture there where you guys are supporting each other. Talk about the leadership of MaxLiving, corporate, and then the culture that they have for you guys as franchise owners.
Yeah. I guess that the biggest part of the culture that they are fostering with us is keep practicing to become like improving yourself. That is huge with them. That's why we have so many events in the year. So that's number one. And number two is accountability. So part of the reason that why we have such a large network of doctors readily on hand just for us to give them a call and tell them like, hey, this is exactly what I'm doing. All right, this is what you need to do, and I'm going to be holding you accountable to it. Opening up a franchise weekly, I have to, provide my stats for my mentor, and she would keep me accountable for everything. And just keep improving yourself, basically. It's just a way of everybody growing as practice owners, but at the same time is making a bigger impact on the community that you're in. So.
See, I love that. As a coach, accountability is huge. And I think it's so much easier to practice accountability long term when you start out practicing accountability and have somebody holding you to that. And then,
Yeah.
or if you were ever to grow out and go do your own business, even outside of chiropractic,
Yeah.
you've been given a great
Yeah.
example. And that's something I find my clients struggle with. Because like for me, I had a great example of being held hyper accountable. I always had a coach. They were always checking my numbers. I was always like really held accountable by an external force. And it came naturally to me because I always did sports. But for some of my clients, it's very uncomfortable.
Well, it's no wonder you gravitated towards accountability because you've always been held accountable. And when Dr. Demy was talking about that, I gravitated, the other way, which is Kaizen, continuous improvement,
Yeah.
because I have a problem with accountability, but I never really had coaches or people that would, say that I was even coachable. And so I gravitated more towards Kaizen, continuous improvement, always learning, but not necessarily being accountable to anybody. But I think both are very important.
Why not both?
Why not
The,
both?
the
Right.
Taco Bell
Taco Lid,
commercial. But I think that's the a key ingredient because you see it a lot in high level athletes. And I think, I mean, a lot of the things I read about high level athletes, it absolutely applies to business too, because what is business except one of the highest levels of sports? I mean, if you're
It's
in the
an
Olympics,
infinite game.
It's an
There's
infinite game,
no end
exactly.
to it. You
But-
just continue to try to put up points.
And that's the thing. Like you see different types of athletes. Like if you see like Johnny Football is a great example of like more of the like, woo, fly by the seat of your pants. And he kind of went off the rails in there. But then you've got your super dialed in. What was it? LeBron, I think it was, who he just like practiced every day at the same time.
Michael
doing the same
Jordan
thing.
also, but
Michael Jordan,
but
yeah.
then Deion Sanders who didn't, and he wouldn't go to practice and he'd show up. Then he'd have a few run backs, but then you don't know the play. So yeah, I agree, consistency. But again, coming from a franchisor relationship where they already know this and they've done this 200 plus times across the country, they've seen a thing or two, right? When you start your own business, you jump ship from a company you've been working for. All you know is what you learned at that company. And then you go to some networking events and you don't take business cards, you don't pass out anything, you don't talk to anybody. And you're like, oh my God, this is a lot harder than I thought. It's not working.
Well, and that's how franchises are supposed to be, right? You're supposed to get the playbook, and that's why people invest in them. And it's unfortunate that we hear so many stories where it's not really that great. So it's good to hear a story where they're doing it in a way that truly does add value.
Yeah, I'll defend the franchisors for a little bit because I've dealt with them. Maybe we attribute some of the fault to them because they don't do all the things they say they're going to do or that they promise to do. But a lot of it is the franchisee has some some unrealistic expectations that they're going to take care of all of it. You know, hey, you're turning over 7 to 9%. Okay, you're keeping 91 to 93%.
Yeah.
What are you doing with that? You know, and ultimately it's your business. Even if you think they should be doing stuff, what are you going to do to not only survive but to thrive? Start thinking in those terms.
Do
Well,
they
and-
push for that? I mean, does MaxLiving, do they, you know, is that something they're teaching you guys? Is like, hey, you need to pay attention to this stuff. This is your responsibility.
Absolutely. In
okay.
terms of marketing specifically. And that's why the training was super important to do in South Carolina, because all of the numbers that you were doing in South Carolina, you're going to be doing that alone in San Antonio, in my case. So every week I'm giving off stats to my mentor, so she knows exactly how many people I'm bringing in and how many paid appointments and how many are they processed and how many became a member and all of that. So
Well, see, that's where I would challenge you on. It's not the franchisor, it's the franchisee. Why are these names so hard for me to say? Because I think that sounds to me more like expectation setting, due diligence, like making your franchisees, the good franchisors I know, which please don't get me wrong, I know some great franchisors, but one of their key characteristics is they vet the bejesus out of their people. Mm-hmm. They make sure they clearly understand the responsibilities they're going to have versus what they're going to do. And they like do their best to set them up for success. But it's the difference between a franchisee who comes into the business thinking this is mine and a franchisee who comes into the business thinking I'm a franchise of. And those guys act more like employees, and they tend to not be as successful because they're expecting the franchisor to like do everything for them. And I think that's on the franchise. It's like, you know, I'm the parent. I'm responsible.
There's one easy way to figure out which is the right franchisor for you is call some of the franchisees before you buy a franchise.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you do that? And what kind of conversations did you have? And like these people have been in business for 6 months, 6 years. What's the deal there?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to shadow MaxLiving Chiropractic doctors that had opened. I went into phone calls, conversations, meetings, all of it. I tried to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, everything from their process and what hurdles they went through, the challenges that they had. How much marketing are you doing right now? Are you doing paid ads on Facebook? How much money are you, not how much money, but how much have you grown in the first year? Right now, like the average MaxLiving chiropractor should be at the end of the year at $1 million. Not necessarily $1 million that you're getting and pocketing into your office,
revenue,
but
gross revenue.
yeah, exactly. So, it's part of the reason why that number is so high is because they're making a great program that they're training the students coming off of the chiropractic school to just really, really just train them very well just to make
They got to go out and market. You got to hustle, right?
Oh
You got to
my
network.
God.
Especially in San Antonio, you picked the right city for like a networking-based marketing strategy.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. I don't know if you did that on purpose or accident, but
There you go.
Let's
say I did.
That's only come about in the last few years. I've been in business here for 3 decades, and I will tell you that there were always chambers of commerce and the Hispanic chambers, the biggest chamber in San Antonio, and all that stuff. But I consider those to be less networking events compared to all the networking opportunities there are now.
so how many years would you say it's been really networky?
5.
Oh, you're welcome then, because that's when I got on the scene.
I'm going to say that it's always been relationship based. Networking is the best way
For
to get to
sure.
the relationship.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, oh my gosh, let's network. 'cause
All
we can build
business is relationship based. Even if you're getting 100% referrals from another doctor to your office, you still have to have a good relationship with the referring person who's sending you the business.
Yeah.
I'm talking about networking events structured, online sign up calendars with all the networking events, all that stuff. That's fairly new.
But the good old boy system, right? It's who you know and who knows you kind of a thing, right?
This entire
That's very
city is
much San
very
Antonio.
much so.
Am I right or am I
Yeah,
right?
That is.
Okay.
That is.
So-
So there's some cultural things here. That's one of them because that stems from the way business is done in Latin America. And we have a lot of Latins here. And I lived in Mexico City. I was born in Laredo. I did work in Mexico and throughout Central America. That's alive and well. So is Land of Mañana. Like, don't try to have a big event and have people buy tickets 6 months in advance because people don't do that here. We're going to put it off until the last possible moment.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're going to call, hey, how come there's no more tickets available?
Land of
Because the event's
Mañana, I
tomorrow.
like that.
Yeah. So that's a cultural thing. But yes, it is that system of who you know, who knows you, who are you related to, who did your parents use for that, you know?
And
What-
networking is a great way to kind of to penetrate that.
I mean, true and maybe a little untrue. I know that there are groups that you and I have no clue about. You probably know them. But there's whole levels of networking that we have no idea about in San Antonio. I feel like we're still on the level 2 networking, but this city has deep roots and getting into them is not
Easy.
a quick
But that's
or easy
fun.
task.
That's the fun part of networking because
Yeah.
you just never know where's the next pocket of folks you don't know about.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, how do I get involved with that?
Well, I'll tell you an unintended benefit of doing nonprofit work is one of the things I love doing. I've been involved with more than 100 nonprofits here in San Antonio. And I met people that are deeply entrenched in this underworld of networking that Heather speaks of. And all of a sudden, I'm connected to these groups that I'm now doing business with. But I didn't meet them because I'm such a great marketer. I met them because I do these things with these nonprofits, and they're very philanthropic, and they've been donating to these nonprofits. All of a sudden, I'm in. Then you have, the Ray Feos, King Antonio's, Fiesta, and all these people. Some of them are Alamo Heights, some of them are Southeast San Antonio, some of them are far north side, and they have their own cliques and their own little things. And now you're starting to see Bernie Chamber and all these little chambers and Helotes Chamber, and people are operating just in that ecosystem
And thriving.
and thriving.
San Antonio, it feels so small sometimes, but it is so big. Like, this is the only big city I know where you'll run into someone you went to high school with in the middle of downtown on a random Tuesday.
You can also go up to the mayor, city council, county commissioners, county judges. They're all very accessible, whereas in other cities, they're harder to get to.
Oh, yeah. I lived in Dallas for 2 or 3 years after I graduated college. I never ran into anyone from high school once. It was glorious.
Yeah.
It's just, Brandon runs into them all the time.
In South Carolina, the amount of networking was, in my eyes, little in comparison to whenever I got here. And whenever I got here, I mean, opening up the business, I came in May 1st. I was already opening in July 1st. So I had, nobody knows me. I don't know anybody. So it was definitely a challenge for me to, get to so many groups and learn about them and foster a relationship first. And then, establish maybe a partnership that I could do with massage therapy or physical therapist or whatever it needed to be.
Well, we covered a lot of territory. This was your second official podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your best so far?
Definitely.
That's a leading question. I love
We're
it.
not journalists.
There we go.
All right,
Absolutely.
so if folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
On Instagram, at MaxLiving Castle Hills.
Okay.
There you go.
And where are you located at? Where's your office?
My office is located in Northwest Military Highway in Castle Hills. The address is 2211 Northwest Military Castle Hills, Suite 116.
All right, excellent. All right. Well, how did you think it went, Howie?
I thought super well. This is great. And I love the fact that now we have a franchisee who's actually happy with their franchisor.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had that as often.
It truly, when you're talking about how they're vetting out potential candidates and they're participating in the educational process of marketing and so forth, I love that. It really speaks highly of MaxLiving. So.
Yeah. And a good learning for us, certainly. And we're doing a lot of, how I know you're on the right track is because we didn't sit here and give you advice for 30 minutes. Because
Oh, yeah.
sometimes we
They'll
do
do
that as
that.
well.
What do you call that? Let's Fix Your Business podcast?
Let's
Welcome
Fix
to
Your
the
Business.
Let's Fix Your Business podcast. With your
Emad
host,
tends
Marc
to be the biggest recipient of the Let's Fix Your Business
Lord.
podcast.
But he's not a franchise.
He's not a franchise.
Mark, that's a really good idea.
How can they reach you if they want to get in touch with them? Well, if they do want to get in touch with me.
After all this.
They still want to get in touch with me.
Love it. All right, as we wrap up the show, a quick reminder to check out our latest podcast and catch video versions of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this one. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.